Oh hi, candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. That was spoken by the character Willy Wonka, who is about as sane as the guy who I met last week. If you've seen the movie, there's a moment where the kids rush into the candy room to consume as much sugar as they possibly can, and then a weirdo in a purple coat systematically murders them. I think it's been a while since I've seen it. The point is they can't control themselves. I'm going to be telling you a story about how I got incredibly drunk, how that night ended much differently than I thought, and then how I discovered that maybe I'm not the person that I thought I was. Hopefully we'll share a few laughs along the way, but no promises on that. So I was sitting in a bar, the Bear and Kilt, to be specific. Bear as in the animal, not bear as in what's under your kilt. I was meeting somebody whom I've only met a couple of times before. It's one of those weird starting to be friends relationships where I'm a bit nervous, they're a bit nervous. We're not sure what jokes can be said, just feeling each other out in a platonic way. Because it's a bar, they serve alcohol, and as much as I want to get one of those drinks that comes with a mini umbrella, I decide to make a cool first impression, so I order one with 2 mini umbrellas. Except I don't. I order a lager. This allows me to loosen up a bit, and because I also overthink pretty much everything, I start to realize that I have no idea what to do with my hands, or generally what to do with any part of my body. What this really leads to is that if there is food or drink in front of me, I have to consume it. It's not even a question. I'm gonna Cookie Monster that, whatever it is that's on the table. So we make some small talk. I don't bring up Willy Wonka even once. I drink the beer, laugh, say something, wonder if I'm being witty and charming. I worry that I'm talking too much. I drink, and then I drink, and then I drink some more. And soon, I have an empty glass. Waiter comes over, asks if I want another, and before thinking, I say yes. The person I was with also asked for another. Now, even that is weird. One beer is fine for me. I don't really need another, but here we were enjoying ourselves, and I had kind of forgotten and just did it without a thought. We continue our conversation. It's been about an hour, and because he is much more cultured than I am, he lets me know that there is a poetry reading across the street that we should go to. In fact, one of his friends is the poet, and he does know it. We finish up, go over to the theater, we hear poetry talked about, we get to be incredibly pretentious, and I love it. Now here's where the night takes a weird turn. When we had arrived to this free poetry reading, we were given 2 tickets. And so after all the presentations were over, they let us know that there is food and refreshments available. Those 2 tickets we were given allow us to have 2 beverages for free. Why is everybody not going to poetry readings? We're at the bar, he gets a glass of red wine, I get a glass of white, we're having conversations with the other patrons. This is when an elderly man approached us, and I wish I could tell you or remember why he opened up the conversation with what he did, but to my recollection, it seemed kind of out of nowhere. But he started with, as you know, America is a racist country. Now, I'm not really that interested in debating that point. We don't really need to get into it. But my friend, who is much more opinionated than I am, pipes up saying, I don't think it's that easy. Well, the gentleman, I'm sorry. We really need to start to give names. I just don't want to use real names. So let's call my new friend Casey, and the other man is Kasem. So Casey has just said, I don't think it's that easy. And Kasem's eyes get super big, and then an anger comes over his face. He says, I have done years of research on politics. How dare you say I'm dumb? Whoa, okay, so things have escalated. I have turtled myself real good, which is my go-to mode when there is conflict in my life. Who left the dirty dishes in the sink? Don't say anything. You accidentally bumped into me? I crawl underneath the nearest table, never to be seen again. There's blood everywhere. How is there so much blood? And what's with all the pentagrams? That might be a very specific one for me. Regardless, I do my best Mitch McConnell impression and waddle away. So things are tense in this confrontation. Kennedy, or Kasem, whatever. The older guy is getting more and more exasperated. Remember, Casey has not said that he supports Donald Trump or war. Quite far from it. And yet that is what he's being accused of. That he supports racism, that he doesn't value human life. Just a lot of accusations. This was mostly a diatribe against the both of us, although primarily towards Casey. I simply took one step to the side and prepared myself to block a punch if I thought I was going to get to that, which I was actually pretty convinced was going to happen. Which, what am I going to do? What are the optics on that? 30-year-old guy shoves elderly man to the floor at a poetry reading. I wouldn't be able to stand the accusations and assumptions the public would have of me, First among them, who goes to a poetry reading? Now, that one glass of white wine grows into two, same for Casey except with red. We're still being lectured by this guy, and then the talk moves to India. Now, I need to say here that there are not many things that get me more upset than when people are intellectually or morally inconsistent. And that is what happened next. This guy, who is all about humanity and valuing life, went off on this tangent on how he hopes China invades India and kills most of its citizens. And that's kind of when I stopped paying attention. This was also when I needed to lean on the bar or else I was going to fall over. Like, I was well and truly blitzed. The last thing this guy asked us was, and I apologize because I'm going to get a little vulgar, he asked, "What's so wrong if a woman wants to have sex in the butt?" I don't know. How did we get here? He did leave, and I turned to Casey and I said, "This is not how I thought this night was gonna go. We've learned a lot about each other." It's like soldiers coming back from war. There's a connection that they have had that only they will truly understand. What's so wrong if a woman wants to have sex in the butt? Will be our Normandy. People started filing out, and Casey and I went with his poet friend and a few others to the same bar, the Bear and Kilt, that had started the evening. It felt like I was an observer at the Algonquin Round Table, where a bunch of wits and intellectuals had interesting conversations. But that also lasted until 1 a.m., which is like 4 hours after my normal bedtime, and I needed to be up at 6, so the next day was a particularly kind of awful. I think the reason that I've kept going back to this evening, even after a week, is that I felt like an observer the entire night. I was this camera that floated through the story, but I never felt like the protagonist, which is a feeling I have a lot, where I'm not actively driving the narrative, but merely being buffeted along by the plot. Maybe one day that'll change. But what about you? Have you had weird situations happen at poetry readings? Are you the driver or the participant in your narrative? What's your Normandy? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Kyle. I upload videos every Monday and Thursday. If you want to help support me even more, consider backing me on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. What's your favorite poem? I think mine is Lemonade, Lemonade, around the corner. No, sorry. That is not appropriate. I'm sorry.